Emily.
Hi, Joe. How are you?
What are you doing here during the day?
Well, I had kind of a stressful afternoon, so I figured I'd come here and relieve some tension. Listen, could you do me a favor? Spot me while I do some military presses? I'm going to use this. Thanks. Ready?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
8, 9. You're just full of surprises, aren't you? 10.
Brock Lombard, are you following me?
Hey, watch it now. That's my line. But yes, as a matter of fact, I am.
Ellen, what are you really saying?
I'm not putting all the blame on you, David. Lord knows I blame myself for not telling you long before this how unhappy I've been.
Why didn't you?
Because our time together is so short. I always feel I have to make it special. But that's not what marriage is about. Truth is, I feel more like a mistress than a wife. You're married to your work, not to me.
But you've always known how important my work is to me. I thought you understood that and accepted it.
I do. But I have to feel important to you, too.
Of course you're important to me. How could you think otherwise?
Do you have any idea how much I hate waking up alone every morning? Cooking for one, always being the third wheel with other people. I just can't take it anymore, David.
Hello, Harold.
Last time you was here, you said you ain't never gonna set foot in this house again.
Oh, now, please, Pa, don't you make it any harder than it already is.
Or did have the women on your side, didn't you? Your mom, sister here. What brings you these parts anyway? Fancy wife yours throw you out 'cause you ain't man enough for?
Dear Barbara, now that I know the truth about Adam, I've got to get away and sort things out. It's all been pretty overwhelming. I know it's been a shock for you, too. Please take care of yourself and Paul till I'm back. I'll be in touch as soon as I can. Love, Hal.
I'm gonna get some tags, honey. But, oh. I know how you feel. Oh, now, come on. Let those tears flow. Gotta get it out of your system once and for all.
I just feel so helpless without Hal here.
You're not helpless. Oh, honey, he listens to you. He adores you.
Yeah, is he gonna adore me when he finds out that I knew about Adam and didn't tell him?
Barbara, look, you and I know that the best place for Adam right now is where he is, and that's with the woman who gave him birth and with Tom, who has been with him from the day he was born.
Oh, Lisa, the last thing I want is for Hal to get custody, but that's his decision to make and not mine.
No. Oh, Barbara, you're wrong about that. You're Hal's wife. It's your decision, too. And Hal is so confused right now, darling. He needs you. He needs you to help him see what's the right thing to do.
I'm just afraid I've lost him, Lisa, that's all.
Oh, Trevor, come here.
Hello. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I interrupting something?
As the world turns.
Yes, Lucy, you are interrupting. Why don't you wait outside?
No, it's okay. It's all right, Lisa. I want to hear what she has to say and get it over with.
Okay. I'll be outside if you need me. Just scream.
I will.
Some problem with your husband,
Why on earth would you think that?
Because I telephoned the station. Talked to Margot about Craig. She was out. And somebody told me that Hal is on leave of absence.
So?
That's strange timing, isn't it? Don't you have a wedding anniversary coming up?
Seems to me you just had an anniversary that your husband spent with a certain lady doctor in Seattle.
I've a bone to pick with you, darling. It'll be brief. I'm told that Olivia was given short shrift at the factory on her tour. Now, you promised in this transition that you would do everything you could, etc., etc. That's all I'm asking. By the way, I'm not complaining about Olivia. Her designs are good. In fact, fashions may want to stock them.
Over my dead body.
I do hope it doesn't come to that. You're busy, darling. Just remember, all I want is a little cooperation.
And you'll have it.
And I can't ask for more than that, so I'll fold my tent and silently slip away, steal away. Does this mean, this leave of absence, that Hal knows about his son?
If he does, then John will find out that you blackmailed me, won't he? $50, $51, $52, $53, $50. Oh, you're in good shape. I'm impressed.
Good. I was surprised to see you over at Tonio's earlier today.
Yeah, well, I have to make sure that the transfer of some important clients goes smoothly.
Really? Looked to me like you were upset.
No, I'm a little stressed out. Craig is away. I'm holding down the office. I'm training our new intern.
Oh, that's all?
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, well, I don't know many other women that could handle that.
Well, my work has become very important to me since my marriage fell apart. You learn down the road that the only person you can count on is yourself.
Yeah. Gets kind of lonely at times, huh?
Yeah, it does. So, how did your meeting with Tonio go?
Pretty good, except being cut slightly short by a woman named Juanita, who called.
Must be Juanita Pereira.
You know her? Who is she?
She's Tonio's contact in Montego. She was married to Tonio's best friend, but he was killed in the last uprising. Anyway, that's who Lucinda and Craig are giving their money to help her find Sierra.
Really? Mind if I give you a little advice?
What?
Bend your knees.
Bend my knees like this?
Well, you're leaning back a little bit too far. Try like that.
Like this, okay.
Yeah. Feel that?
Yeah, I feel the difference.
Good.
Listen, when are you going back to Chicago?
I don't know. Kind of depends on whether or not the invitation to your grandmother still stands.
I had no idea you felt this way.
Well, that's my whole point. How would you when you're never here? Our whole time together is compressed into a few short weeks a year. We've grown into strangers.
But we talked all this out 2 years ago when I got back from Switzerland. I told you about the offer to join the AIDS research team in Africa, and I offered to turn it down if that's what you wanted.
Oh, David, you were so excited at the time. I would have been the villain if I'd said no. And I had no idea it was going to last for this long.
No one did. And there's still no cure for AIDS. That's why I'm so badly needed in Zaire.
I understand all that. Believe me, I learned firsthand from Hank Elliott just how horrible AIDS is. That's why part of me is guilty for even bringing this up. But damn it, I have needs too. And there's no way that you're going to meet those needs when you're halfway around the world.
What do you want me to do? Give up my research? Come back home? Fill my time gardening, playing bridge?
Oh, you know I'm not asking you to do that. And I don't want you to come home if it's going to mean you're going to be resentful and miserable. I'm just telling you how I feel. The rest is up to you. I am tired of being pitied. Of being as much a widow as Nancy was when she lost Chris. At least Nancy, she was free to go on living. I feel like my life is on permanent hold, going nowhere.
Ellen, Are you telling me you want a divorce? Is that what this is all about?
Where have you been? You were due back here at 2 o'clock.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lila. We had a little picnic in the park, and I guess we just
Well,
left.
Pam had to cover for you when she doesn't have time to do that.
Well, I'm really sorry, Lila. I'll make it up to her.
There's a new patient in room 407.
Well, I'll make sure the room's ready. Thanks for lunch.
Sure. See you later.
Bye.
Yeah. Lila, look, I'm sorry if I got Nella in hot water.
It's not your fault, Bo. I mean, she's a big girl. She should be able to tell time. Unfortunately, I think her priorities are very confused.
Is Pam around?
Ah, well, I just sent her to the supply room, but if you want to wait, she'll be back soon.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Heard anything from Margot?
Well, yeah, I heard from her a few minutes ago. Seems that Hal has left town. He wants to think things through. Margot and Tom are going crazy, waiting.
I don't know how much longer I can go on lying to Lucinda.
Hi, Doc.
Hello.
You know anything about a patient named Amy Phillips? We got a call at the station. She's brought in.
Yeah, I admitted her. She's in ER.
How is she?
Not too good. They beat her up bad.
She said this was going to happen to her, and there wasn't a damn thing we could do about it.
No.
Well, Lila, I couldn't find the 3 inches, so I got 2-inch gauze. Is that
that's
okay?
all right. Yeah. Oh, listen, Bo's waiting to see you.
Why?
Well, I'm not sure, but if I were you, I wouldn't write him off just yet.
Where is he?
Well, he was here a few minutes ago.
Oh, yeah, I know.
What is Nella doing on a break? She just came in from lunch, late.
I know exactly what she's doing. Just wish Bo did.
Just give him some time, Hal. He'll come around.
How much time, Claire? 9 years. It's been 9 years since I came back here to see our mother buried while she was still a young woman.
Mama's gone, Hal. Bitterness and blame won't bring her back.
I should have learned right then that life isn't fair.
Hal, before Pa interrupted, I could tell the minute you stepped foot on this porch that you are in some kind of trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, and I shouldn't have come back here to get any answers. That was a mistake.
Oh, no, don't say that. You and I have always been able to talk to each other. Remember?
I'd like to tell you about it, Claire. I just don't know where to begin.
How about at the beginning?
Well, a few days ago, I felt like I had the world by the tail. I was married to a woman that I love a lot, raising her son, who I love a lot. We were looking for a house, hoping to start a family.
Well, it sounds perfect so far. What could be wrong with all that?
Another woman. Another woman who was my best friend and who I trusted with my life. Had a son about 10 months ago, and she just told me that he is mine.
What?
Barbara? Nancy.
Is this a bad time?
No, not at all. Tom and Margot were here earlier. They said that Kim has spoken to you about Adam.
Yes. That's why I'm here. I just wanted to tell you that I think Tom and Margot's keeping this secret from Hal is unforgivable.
Well, that's a refreshing change, Nancy. Lisa thinks it's the most romantic thing she's ever heard. But if you ask me, they've only been protecting their own interests from the start.
When they stopped by my apartment earlier, I told them how I felt. I'm just sorry I wasn't able to talk to them until things had gone this far.
Does Mac know?
Yes. Not that we see eye to eye, but it is an explanation of why Hal asked for emergency leave.
I'm afraid it's going to turn into permanent leave. How could he possibly go back to work with Margot as his partner?
This must be very difficult for you.
I've never been so scared in my whole life. When Hal found out the truth, he built this wall around himself, and I just can't seem to get through it. I think Margot shattered his faith in everyone and everything when she told him that she's kept his son a secret all these months.
What I can't get by is Tom's going against everything he's been taught. He knows right from wrong. He knows the law. How can he uphold the law in court when he disregards it in his personal life?
Nancy, I just heard what you said. And I totally disagree with you. I do believe that there are higher laws. And as far as Tom and Margot, I agree with them completely. They should have tried to keep Adam a secret. I just wish they kept him a secret forever.
Ellen, honey, sweetheart, it's not as if our marriage hadn't been through some pretty rough times. But we've always managed to weather the storm and come out stronger than ever, so why?
We should be past all that, David. These are supposed to be the golden years when we look back at all we've been through and heave a sigh of relief that we made it and that the rough times are behind us. Instead, you're thousands of miles away, and I'm left here completely alone.
You didn't answer my question before. I can't believe it, but are we talking about divorce?
Oh, David, that's the last thing in the world that I ever wanted. When I think of how in love we were when we were first married and all the dreams that we shared.
We didn't have that much time together then either. I was working 10 or 15 hours at the hospital a day, and you were raising our children.
I didn't mind then. I knew that we were both working toward the same goals. Or so I thought.
Maybe.
Meaning most young couples spend more time apart at the beginning than they'd like so that they can enjoy the years ahead together. But we're not doing that.
Well, you talk as if we have one foot in the grave. We're both healthy, active people. I'm not ready to retire.
I know that. I just always thought that we would spend this part of our lives together. When the children were grown and we had the house all to ourselves again, I just feel like we're being cheated out of the most precious time in our marriage.
What do you want me to do?
If you weren't away so long, you wouldn't even have to ask.
Obviously, we can't go on like this. You being so miserable, that's for sure. Maybe we ought to postpone this trip to the cabin. I need some time to think this through. I feel that our whole future is hanging in the balance.
Well, I agree. I'll call up Betsy and I'll let her know.
Sweetheart, whatever happens, I want you to know that in my own way, I love you very much. And I need you to.
I love you too, David. If I didn't, it wouldn't be a problem. But I cannot go on like this any longer.
It seems like every time I try to patch things up between us, from your point of view, I always make it worse. So, I'd like to try again. Will you have dinner with me tonight?
I don't know if it's such a good idea.
Please. I've been working on a new lyric. It's probably the best I've ever done. I'd like to try it out on you. And since I'm on tour, I can afford more than peanut butter sandwiches at my place.
Actually, I kind of miss those peanut butter days.
Excuse me.
Miss...
I hate to interrupt, but Mr. Smith has to see you.
Oh, right, I'm sorry. Yes, I'll have dinner with you tonight.
Good. I have to go home and finish the song, and I'll pick you up later.
Hey, thanks again for lunch.
Sure.
I had a great time.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Look, Nellie Bee.
Bye.
Nellie Bee, I'm just worried about my little sister. You know, I haven't forgotten the last time you said you were in love.
Yeah, well, I really don't think you're the one who should be giving me advice in that department, considering your last 2 girlfriends.
All right, you don't want my help. I'll keep my mouth shut. But Mom and I have been covering for you for the last couple of weeks, hiding the information from Pop. And I don't envy you when Pop finds out the truth.
Oh, please, I'm not afraid of Pop. And I don't intend to keep on living at home the way you have.
Oh, hello. Detective Franklin,
Hello.
any news of Hal?
No, we haven't heard a thing.
Is that odd?
Hi, dear.
Hello, Hi.
You talked to Margot?
Yeah, she's busy on a case.
I bet she's up to her eyeballs with her partner away.
How did you know that?
She stopped by Fashions. Barbara looks as though she should take some time off. She looks like she's about to snap.
Yeah?
John,
Yeah.
I have to ask you some questions about this insurance. Sorry. It's very
I'm not
confusing.
here. Chart. Oh, dear. Look, I didn't get a chance at home to say how badly I felt the way Uncle John was talking about your father.
Oh.
I could see you were upset.
No,
I'm sorry.
don't worry about it. My mother feels the same way about my dad, Uncle John.
It's so funny that I have never met Annette and the boys.
I
Maybe they
know.
could come this summer and spend some time.
I'm trying to ask my mother to come visit, but she has a very full schedule, so
Of
it's
course,
hard.
she works so hard. She doesn't get any support from your father, huh?
Are you kidding? My father hasn't had a steady job in his whole life. I think that's why they had so much trouble.
Yeah. What does he do for money?
I don't know, and I don't ask.
Aren't you wonderful? You still want to visit him.
Well, he's my father, you know, and we do keep in touch, birthdays, Christmas, and stuff. Well, I talked to him when Uncle John was in Seattle, and he said those 3 magic words, I miss you, so...
Oh, darling.
Excuse me, Pam,
Mr. Owens can go.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was on my way.
I'm sorry.
God! Yes. Seattle, please. I want the number for Lawrence E. Wagner. I don't know the address. Oh, that's it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
We'll continue with part 2 of As the World Turns in just a moment. And now, part 2 of As the World Turns.
I didn't hear the doorbell.
David let me in, and then he went right into his study. He seemed upset. Have you talked to him?
I took your advice. I told him how unhappy I am with our arrangement.
And?
He's thinking it over. Nancy, I don't know where this is going to end. I don't know if I should have said anything.
You can't start thinking that way, dear. You had to tell David the truth.
I've just been looking through that old family album. It's just so hard to believe David and me ending up like strangers after all those years.
Chris and I celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary, and we had rough spots right up to the end. And I seem to be hitting a rough spot with Dan right now, but Ellen, that's all part of marriage.
I know, it's just... It's not so easy getting through those rough spots when the clock keeps ticking away every minute until your husband leaves and you have no idea when you'll see him again.
I know it couldn't have been easy for you to tell David how you feel. But I truly believe honesty must never be sacrificed, no matter what the cost seems to be at the moment.
Nancy, there's something bothering you, too, isn't there?
Oh, it's just as I told you this morning at the apartment, that Dan and I have had a small disagreement.
How'd you like to have some iced tea?
No, I really must be...
Oh, hello, Nancy. I haven't seen you.
Hello, Mrs. Stewart. How are you?
How are you?
my dear.
Nancy, have you met Mr. Lombard?
No, don't you
This
have?
is Nancy McCloskey, my very dear friend.
I'm very
Brock
pleased to
Lombard.
meet you, Mrs. McCloskey.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you. Now, I must be going along.
Oh.
I'll see you later now. Emily, it's nice to meet you, Mr. Lombard.
Thanks for coming by, Nancy.
Bye-bye. Was it something we said?
Oh, not at all. I'm so happy to see my busy granddaughter.
Listen, I came by to find out if my invitation is still open to the cabin. Brock would like to join us.
Yes.
Oh, you know, as it turns out, I'm not exactly sure when we're going to be going.
Really? I thought you were leaving later today.
Oh, we were, but your grandfather has something he has to take care of. Can I offer you some iced tea?
I would
Yes,
love
I would
some.
love some. Grandma, I have to call Paul at the office. Is there...
Oh, there's a phone right here, dear.
Oh, okay.
The crystal on this picture is exquisite. Is this
Isn't
a
it?
family piece?
Yes, it belonged to Emily's great-great-grandparents.
Hi, Paul.
Judge Lowell started a law firm
Yeah.
here in Oakdale. He set some
No-
important legal precedents in his time. Let me get some food for you.
Okay, is everything going all
Thank
right?
you.
Okay. Well, if that's it, I'm at my grandparents' house. If you need to reach me, just phone me here. Paul, did your mom call at all today? Oh, she didn't. No, I was just curious. Okay, well, keep up the good work, and I'll see you later. Bye.
Yeah, I didn't know I was working out with the blue blood over at Mosconi's gym today. Something wrong?
Oh, thank you. I was just thinking about work. I'm sorry.
Well, this is your afternoon off. I have to give you something else to think about.
Mrs. Phillips, let me help you with that. Here.
Thanks. How did you know I was here?
Well, the hospital reported that you've been brought in.
I told them not to notify the police.
Well, it's routine in assault cases. Besides, why wouldn't you want us notified? You came to us for protection when you were afraid this was going to happen.
The point is, it did happen. And it's too late for the police to do anything about it.
Mrs. Phillips, I can understand you're being bitter, but when you came to us, our hands were tied. I'm here now to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
It won't. As soon as I'm out of here, I'm buying a one-way ticket to Arizona. Go live with my sister.
You don't have to do that. I promise you, you can live here without being in fear. All you have to do is sign a statement that it was your ex-husband that did this. It was your ex-husband, wasn't it?
I can't be certain. Someone jumped me from behind.
Mrs. Phillips, please. Just be honest. I can have him picked up within the hour.
That'll only make it matter. In a couple of days, if not hours, he'll be back out on bail.
Look, we'll get a restraining order.
No piece of paper's gonna scare him off.
But look, if you'll just sign a statement that it was Lloyd that did this, we will pick him up.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I didn't know I was going to be interrupting anything.
I'm questioning Mrs. Phillips, Nella.
Well, she's due for medication, but I can go get it and come back.
Thanks.
You gotta understand. I want to believe you. It's just that I can't trust any man after...
I understand. And I promise you, you can trust me. Was it Lloyd that did this?
Yes.
Barbara, you know what they say, a watched phone never rings.
Sorry, Lisa. I haven't been a lot of help today.
Why don't you go home? I can handle things here.
No, the last place I want to be is home. Everywhere I look, I'm reminded of Hal and how happy we were before this whole mess happened. I'm just glad that Nancy stopped by. It's nice to hear that someone else is as angry with Tom and Margot as I am.
Honey, anger is not going to solve the situation. Besides, aren't you forgetting something important?
Like what?
If Margot had told Hal that she was pregnant, you might have lost Hal forever. And even if she had waited until September after Adam was born, well, it wouldn't have given you the opportunity to really build that relationship with Hal.
Are you trying to tell me I should be grateful to Margot for the year that I've had with Hal before she ruined my marriage?
Your marriage isn't ruined, Barbara, but you're going to have to start fighting for it.
Well, it's a little difficult when your husband's out of town.
Then where is he?
He's asked me not to say. But it's somewhere where Tom and Margot will never find him.
So I didn't know what to do. I just knew that I had to get out of there, come down here and think some things out.
Well, what are you going to do now?
Beats the hell out of me, Claire. You know, I know this guy back in Oakdale. He just found out he had a son he didn't know about 19 years. And he found him. Hasn't been easy on him, but there's a bond between them. There's a bond between any father and son.
There never was much of a bond between you and Paul.
I don't know, Claire. May seem that way, but you know, this is where I came when my life fell apart. How can I deny that birthright to my own son?
Well, what about Barbara? What do you think it's going to do to her for you to bring another woman's child into her home? Now, if we were talking about Ben, no way. No, I just don't think I could handle that.
I haven't thought about it a lot from that angle.
Yeah, well, I think you better. Bringing Adam into your house would be a constant reminder to Barbara of your affair with another woman.
It was over a long time ago, Claire. Barbara knows that.
You still work with a woman, don't you? Yeah. And once two people have had a child together, now that is a bond that can never be broken. And Barbara must know that. And she needs you there, now, more than ever. Instead, you're down here, and she is left to dip that poor girl. She's got to deal with all those fears by herself.
Well, that may be true, Claire, but right now I come first. I'm not talking to anybody until I figure out what I'm going to do. I'm going for a walk.
Well, I hope you make a decision soon, for everybody's sake.
Leaving already? Fingers.
I thought you might like a little snack.
Thanks,
Thank
Grandma.
you.
You didn't have to do that, but...
Oh, well, I wanted to.
Good.
Oh, my. I remember the day that picture was taken. It was out at the country club.
We've been wondering who the gentleman in the white flannels is here.
Oh, that's my father. He was also an attorney.
Really? Well, how is it that Emily's the only one in the family that didn't end up a doctor or a lawyer with
Yes,
all of
Emily.
this history?
Emily has always been a rebel in the family, but she's turning into quite a success in business.
I'm trying.
Now, there's a very happy couple.
That's David and I when we were first married.
You know, I really envy you, too. You're one of the few couples around that didn't wind up divorced.
Hello,
Hi, Grandpa.
Doctor.
Yes, no, I'm trying to find a picture in here of great-granddaddy. How come there's none?
Well, why don't you show him the portrait in the dining room?
Okay. Come on, follow me.
I'm following you.
Did we come to any conclusions?
I think so. I hope so. Lord knows I don't want to lose you, and I don't want to lose my marriage, our marriage. But I'm not prepared to give up my work, which is so important, and which can affect many lives. So I've tried to come up with a compromise.
And have you?
I think so. I hope so. Ellen, I want you to rent this house and come back to Africa with me. How'd the meeting with Rex go?
Oh, wonderful, darling. It's just long-winded. Wonderful. But you've got the funding for extra staff.
Well, that's good. Thank you.
Well, I have an ulterior reason. You know, I have my motives. I want to keep my husband at home nights.
Wish I could, too.
How is your husband?
I talked with his doctor this morning. He's making progress.
Good. Well, he'll be back sooner than you think.
Thank you.
Will you walk with me? I have to talk to Iva.
Sure.
Hi, I just had a long talk with Tom and Margot, and I know about Adam. Now, look, you and I have to think of a way to try to make Hal realize that the best thing for all concerned is to make sure the baby stays with the two parents who love him, the natural mother and Tom. Tom couldn't love him more if he were his own father. And,
Lisa, I know. But that has to be a decision from Hal. I mean, he's got to make that decision.
You don't
not
understand.
Us.
Hal is in no condition to make a rational decision right now. I've talked to Barbara. I've tried to make her understand that if Hal got even partial custody of this child, it would just destroy their marriage. And I'm sure it would do the same to Tom and Margot.
What really happened to Mrs. Phillips, Roy?
She made the mistake of marrying the wrong guy. Maybe she didn't listen to her big brother either.
Why do you have to turn everything into a sermon?
Because I'm still hoping that I might get through to you. I gotta make a telephone call.
Nella, why didn't you give Mrs. Phillips her medication?
Well, when I went into her room, Roy was questioning
That was
her.
over a half an hour ago. If I had not checked on her, she would not have received her medication.
Yeah, well, she signed the statement, and I want that bum, her ex-husband, Lloyd Phillips, brought in for questioning right away. Mm-hmm. I'm on my way back to the station. Sweetie, I'm headed back to the station. I'll see you later.
Maybe. I don't know if I'm going to be home.
Nella, I need to speak to you for a moment.
Yes, Mrs. Atwater?
How's your work been going?
Okay.
That's not what I've been hearing.
What do you mean?
It's been reported to me that you've been absent from your shifts more than once without letting anyone know, that you failed to make a notation on a chart, causing a patient to be over-medicated, that you forgot to give medication as prescribed. I expected better from a nurse who was second in her graduating class. Are you by any chance having some personal problems?
No.
Well, the report's been turned in, so I'm afraid I have no choice. I'm putting you on suspension for 2 months.
Mrs. Atwater, please, you can't do that. I'm going to be better. I swear I'm going to
I'm sorry. I can't risk your making another mistake, one that could cost a patient's life. Meanwhile, I suggest that you use this time off to get your priorities in order and decide whether nursing is the career that you really want. I'll be here if you need to talk. Otherwise, I'll see you in 2 months, and we'll talk then.
Hey, what's wrong?
I just got suspended for 2 months. What am I going to do?
2 months? Wait a minute, it was because I brought you in here late?
I don't know, maybe. What am I going to do? What am I going to tell my folks? They're going to freak. My dad's going to kill me. Roy will probably help.
No. Don't worry. Don't. It's okay. Okay.
Where'd my grandparents go?
I don't know. But they're very sweet folks.
Yeah, aren't they?
Yeah. After seeing all of the portraits in the house, I understand why your grandmother's so proud of her family.
Well, I never really thought about it.
Growing up with it, you take it all for granted. But from an outsider's point of view, believe me, it's very impressive.
You never talk about your family.
Well, I grew up in Lake Forest, where my parents still have a house. They're very nice people also. I'd like for you to meet them someday. It's a little difficult now with the divorce going on.
How do they feel about that?
Disappointed, as you might imagine, but they stick by me no matter what. When the dust clears, I'll have you up.
Well, I'd like that.
Good. It's funny how you feel you never get to know anybody until you know their family and see where they came from.
Oh, well, then that's not fair because you know everything about me and I don't know anything about you.
Well, you know, there are other ways to get to know somebody.
Oh, really? How so?
Like this.
John, I'm so
glad to see you. I need to talk with you for a minute.
What?
Well, I know that our grandson is Hal's baby.
Who told you that?
Tom and Margot.
Well, that's just great. Fine, they swear me to secrecy. They won't even let me tell my wife, but yet they'll tell anybody,
wait,
huh?
No, I can understand why they wouldn't want to tell your wife just yet. But, well, as I was talking to them, and as you see, their problem is they want to make sure that they can keep the baby as their very own, and I want to make sure that they do that.
I think that that's a very, very bad idea, and I don't see Hal sitting still for that for a moment.
There's no other rational solution to the whole thing. I was trying to explain to Barbara and to Nancy about this.
Nancy knows about this?
Of course she does. But, yes, and she told Mac, but he's the only other...
Oh, that tears it. I'm not lying to my wife any longer.
Lila! Where could I find my husband now?
Fashion's Barbara Ryan.
Hi, it's me.
Oh, boy, am I glad you called. I'm feeling so cut off from you, not being able to call you anywhere.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. It's hard for me to call you, too. The nearest phone's about 3 or 4 miles from my house. I think that it's good for me to be here. I'm starting to put things into focus. I'm starting to see the situation a little more clearly.
Good. I'm glad. Hell, I miss you terribly. I'd like to be able to help you. Why don't I can get on a plane. It'd be so easy to get on a plane and come join you.
Oh, sweetheart, I really don't think that that's such a hot idea. I really need some more time alone to sort things out.
Have you reached a decision about Adam?
Fashions by I. Kleinfeld and Son. Join us tomorrow for As the World Turns. This is CBS.